In the dusty plains of the Wild West, a lone rancher named Jed Harper rode into town, his hat worn and his pockets nearly empty. He'd heard whispers of a cheap land deal, a forgotten cabin up for auction. With just 12 cents to his name, Jed figured it was worth a shot. The townsfolk chuckled, thinking he'd been swindled, but Jed saw potential where others saw ruin. The auction was held under a blazing sun, with a rickety gavel banging on an old crate. Jed raised his hand, offering his measly 12 cents. The crowd fell silent, then erupted in laughter as the land agent, a greasy man named Silas, accepted. For a dime and 2 pennies, Jed became the proud owner of a dilapidated cabin on the edge of Apache territory. He grinned, unaware of the horror awaiting. With a creaky wagon and a stubborn mule, Jed made his way to the cabin. The structure loomed ahead, its wooden walls weathered by time and wind. Vines crept over the porch, and the windows were shattered. He tied his mule to a post, muttering about fixing the place up. The air felt thick, heavy with an unspoken tension that he couldn't quite place. As Jed stepped inside, the floorboards groaned under his boots. Dust swirled in the dim light filtering through the broken windows. The interior was sparse, a table, a chair, and a rusty stove. But something was off. A strange scent lingered, like damp earth mixed with something metallic. He shook it off, thinking it was just the neglect of years gone by. He explored further, pushing open a creaky door to what he assumed was a back room. The hinges screeched, and then he froze. There, in the shadows, hung a massive figure, a girl, her muscular frame towering even in death. Her Apache attire was torn, and a noose bit into her neck. Jed's heart pounded as he stumbled back, dropping his hat. The girl was unlike any he'd seen, her height and strength defying belief. Her skin bore tribal tattoos, and her expression was one of defiance, even in her final moments. Jed's mind raced. Had she been a warrior? A captive? The sign above her read, "Traitor's Punishment," in crude, scratched letters. He felt a chill despite the heat. Jed's first instinct was to cut her down, but his hands trembled. He grabbed a knife from his belt and climbed onto a chair, slicing the rope. Her body slumped to the floor with a thud, and he noticed the rope burns on her wrists. She'd fought hard. He whispered an apology, unsure if it was to her or to the spirits he feared were watching. Outside, the wind picked up, carrying the sound of distant hoofs. Jed peered out, seeing nothing but the vast plains. He returned to the girl, covering her with a tattered blanket from the corner. Her presence felt haunting, a silent accusation in the empty cabin. He wondered who had done this and why. The townsfolk had never mentioned this. Jed's anger grew. Had Silas known? He decided to ride back and demand answers. But first, he needed to bury her. With a shovel from his wagon, he began digging in the hard earth behind the cabin, the task weighing on his soul as much as his arms. As he dug, memories of Apache raids flickered in his mind. He'd heard tales of their strength, their pride. This girl must have been a legend among them. The shovel hit a rock, and he paused, wiping sweat from his brow. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows that seemed to dance with unseen figures. Night fell, and Jed worked by lantern light. The grave took shape, a crude but respectful resting place. He lowered her body gently, murmuring a prayer he barely remembered from his childhood. The wind howled, and for a moment, he thought he heard a faint cry carried on it, a voice from the past. With the burial done, Jed covered the grave with dirt and placed a small cross made from twigs. He stepped back, feeling a mix of relief and dread. The cabin now held a secret, and he wasn't sure he wanted to stay. But 12 cents was all he had. Leaving wasn't an option. The next morning, Jed rode back to town, his mind set on confronting Silas. The streets were quiet, the saloon doors swinging lazily. He found the land agent counting coins in his office. "What did you sell me?" Jed demanded, slamming his fist on the desk. Silas smirked, unfazed. Silas leaned back, lighting a cigar. "That cabin's been trouble since the Apache War. They hanged one of their own there, some giant girl who betrayed him. Figured you'd clear it out." Jed's blood boiled. "You knew." Silas shrugged. 12 cents ain't much to care about details. Jed grabbed Silas by the collar, but the agent's men stepped in, pulling him off. "You'll regret this," Jed growled, storming out. He needed allies, someone who knew the Apache ways. He headed to Old Man Tully, a trapper who'd lived among them years ago. Tully's shack was a clutter of furs and bones. The old man listened as Jed recounted the discovery. His eyes widened. "That's no ordinary girl," Tully said. "She was Quaya, a warrior princess. Her betrayal must have been big. Hanging's a rare punishment for them." Tully explained that Quaya's death would anger her tribe. "They'll come for her body or revenge. You're in danger, son." Jed nodded, his resolve hardening. He'd protect her resting place, even if it meant facing the Apache. Tully offered a rifle and some advice. Back at the cabin, Jed fortified the windows with planks. He set traps around the perimeter, using Tully's tips. The night was restless, filled with the rustle of leaves and the occasional howl of a coyote. He kept the rifle close, waiting for the inevitable. Dawn broke with a thunder of hooves. Apache riders appeared, their faces painted, torches blazing. Jed stepped out, rifle raised. "I buried her with respect," he called. The leader, a stern man with a scarred face, dismounted, eyeing Jed warily. The leader spoke in broken English. "Quaya was our strength. You touch her grave, you die." Jed lowered his weapon slightly. "I didn't kill her. I found her like that. I gave her a burial." The leader studied him, then signaled his men to hold. After a tense silence, the leader approached the grave. He knelt, placing a feather on the cross. "You honor her," he said. "But her spirit is restless. We take her remains." Jed hesitated, then agreed, knowing it was their right. He helped uncover the grave. Together, they lifted Quaya's body, wrapping it in a blanket. The Apache chanted softly, a mournful song that echoed across the plains. Jed watched, feeling a strange peace. The leader nodded thanks, and the riders departed, leaving the cabin silent once more. Alone again, Jed sat by the fire. The cabin felt different, lighter, as if Quaya's spirit had found release. He decided to stay, to rebuild. The 12 cents had bought him more than land. It had given him a story, a connection to the land's history. Weeks passed, and Jed worked tirelessly. He repaired the roof, replaced the windows, and planted a garden. The Apache never returned, but he left the feather on the grave as a tribute. The cabin became his home, a testament to survival. One evening, a young Apache boy appeared, offering a woven bracelet. "For Quaya's friend," he said. Jed accepted, touched by the gesture. The boy left, and Jed wore the bracelet, a symbol of an uneasy truce. The town heard of Jed's tale, and some began to respect him. Others still mocked his 12-cent purchase, but he didn't care. The cabin held value beyond money. A piece of the Wild West's soul lived there now. As years went by, Jed grew old in that cabin. He'd tell visitors of Quaya, her strength, and the night that changed his life. The story became legend, a Wild West tale of courage and redemption for a mere 12 cents. On his deathbed, Jed looked out at the plains, the feather still on the grave. He smiled, knowing he'd done right by Quaya. The cabin stood strong, a monument to a rancher's unexpected journey, forever tied to the giant Apache girl's spirit.